You know, I got to be honest with you. I'm starting to think this might have something to do with a lung and the exchange of gases right down in here. You see this? They're like little pops going on between the two meeting each other. Could that be the exchange of gases? You see that? They're like meeting up in the middle here. There's so much to think about and look at now. Look at that. These could be little alveoli. That's how they work. You absorb oxygen. This could very well be a lung, because I was looking over on the other side. Look over here. Well, I mean, everywhere you can see there's a ton of something exchange going on. I don't know what you want to call it, but this is all. This is an exchange. I would say this is a lung. And look at this fluty looking stuff over here. Not just your average hills and valleys. I'm going to go with the lung. Well, let me put it this way. No question whatsoever went to some kind of an organ. And it's a good size one. Whatever's going on, it's all over the place. Look at that. Oh my God. Look at that. All I can say is yikes. What the hell is that? I can tell you these are all little membranes. This is some kind of a absorption unit of some sort. And look at it, they just pump right in and they go right out, and they pump right in, they go right out. Digestive system, I don't know. Look at that, my goodness. And then you got all these really vibrant colors. That's right above the fish. Now, there's a statement in about how the earth opened its mouth to absorb the flow from the dragon. I'll read it to you. Okay, all I can say is this is beyond shocking. It's starting to all fit together now. In Greek mythology, which I have been studying pretty seriously, Cronus, who I believe is Saturn, was the youngest of the Titans and the son of Gaia and Uranus. Uranus is the sky, Gaia is the earth. Now Uranus would eat the children. He ate the Titans, he ate them all because he was afraid they would take him, they would overthrow him, and he was right. So here's what it is. We're talking Cronus. His parents were Gaia, goddess of the earth. She was the earth. Uranus, the sky. The siblings were the Hexionaries and the Cyclops and the crazy things. Consort, her husband, his older sister, he married his sister, and the goddess of fertility and motherhood. Now, here was the children she had. Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Hesta, and Demeter. These are some serious gods. Now, Zeus was the one that I believe was born in the story about the woman with her feet on the moon. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I know this is shocking. Don't get crazy. It's a shocker. Now, his overthrow, Cronus was the son that was given a sickle. And, no, I'm sorry. Cronus was overthrown by Zeus, who was given a sickle by his mother, Gaia. Cut his testicle off. And then Cronus regurgitated it up to children. He had eaten all of them. Zeus then banished the Titans to Tartarus because he was scared he was going to get taken. So he put them back in Tartarus. That opens up a whole new trying to understand, where is Tartarus? Zeus banished them to Titans to Tartarus. Well, was Tartarus inside of Cronus? Because he was the one who was eating them. And they claimed that they were banished to Tartarus in the beginning. I don't know. Tartarus is throwing me here. So we got to look about that. But anyway, so Zeus banished all of these guys, the Titans, to Tartarus, everything, so they couldn't be overtaken. Now, Cronus was the leader of the Titans originally, and he ruled during the Golden Age, I guess when everything was going pretty good. Now, Cronus was often depicted holding a sickle, a scythe, or a harp. Cronus is linked to the Roman god Saturn. That's who I think he was, Saturn. He ended up having a battle with Zeus. And that's why they're the rings of Saturn, because he beat the hell out of them and knocked all kinds of pieces off, I think. Now, Cronus is linked to the Roman god Saturn, the Egyptian god Geb, the Phoenician El, and the Hittite Huron god Kumarba. So that's who Cronus is. Now, he was overtaken by Zeus. Now, where did Zeus come from? Now, this is Apollodorus. He wrote in the 2nd century BC, way back. And he was very, very serious about his writing. And these are all his books. Now, the theogony means the beginning, and he's getting into the birth of Zeus, who was, at that time, god of this solar system. He was considered the god. Now, he was a sexual god. He was having sex with all the women that were here on Earth. So as far as I'm concerned, he must have been the one they talk about that said, I'm taking over. And Cronus was considered the big god, I guess. And he went against the big god and came to Earth, and all of him and his buddies had sex with the women, and they had giants. Now, this is Apollodorus, and it talks about the same thing, about the earth and the sky wedded each other and had all these monsters, the cyclopses, all kinds of things. And then they talk about Tartarus. Here again, what happened was, after Earth had all these monsters, Sky bound and cast them into Tartarus. Now, Sky was, he was Uranus, right? So Sky was Uranus, and he bound and cast them into Tartarus. Well, where is Tartarus? Is it inside of him, or is it inside of Earth? And it says, Sky bound and cast them into Tartarus, which is a gloomy place in Hades. Well, where's Hades? As far distant from Earth as Earth is distant from the sky. So it would be inside the Earth, I would imagine. Sky bound and cast into the Tartarus, a gloomy place in Hades. Well, where is Hades? That's what we got to figure out. As far distant from Earth as Earth is distant from the sky. Kind of hard to figure that one out. But anyway, they had all the giants and so forth, and they ate them all. And then you get down to the birth of Zeus. That's when, I believe, the dragon came down to eat Zeus. And he was taken off and hidden, and turned out to be the child that they talk about that would rule with an iron rod. And that's basically what did happen. Let me read that text to you. Okay, it doesn't get much shockier than this. This is the woman standing with her feet on the moon, cloaked with the sun, giving birth to a child that will rule the world with an iron rod. Now, What does it say here? The dragon then attacks her again with a flood of water from his mouth, which is subsequently swallowed by the earth. Now, then the dragon went to war with the remnant of her seed, identified as the righteous followers of Christ. So he went against Christ. And that dragon was trying to eat the baby as she had her feet on the moon. And I believe it was Gaia, the earth, having her feet on the moon, giving birth to a baby, which happened to be Zeus. And she gave Cronus the stone to eat. And he ate that, thought he had eaten Zeus. She hides Zeus. And here's what happened. The woman gave birth to a male child who was threatened by the dragon. He wanted to eat him. He was identified as the devil and Satan. So Zeus is identified as Satan, basically, as far as I can say. Zeus was Jupiter. He intends to devour the child as soon as he is born. When the child is taken to heaven on the wings of an eagle, the child is taken to heaven. Apparently God swooped in and took him to heaven. Basically, that's what they're saying. I don't know. And he was taken in a place prepared by God for 1,260 days. And then it leads to a war in heaven in which the angels cast out the dragon, who was doing what he shouldn't do. The dragon attacks the woman. The woman escapes on her wings for a time and a half. The dragon then attacks her with a flood of water from his mouth, which is subsequently swallowed by the earth. And then the dragon goes to war with her seed. I can see that. I see it. It's just as crazy as it can get. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper. This is the dragon who was trying to kill the gods. And the woman was attacked with a flood from the dragon, from his mouth, against her, which could be the fish. It was against, I guess, the fish portrayed as Gaia, as a god. And he attacked with a torrent, and earth opened up her mouth to try to absorb it. Now, the fish obviously got hit, but not with the torrent that it would have. This is being sucked away down into here, into a really serious chemistry set down here. This is not going into the fish. This is going out. You see the height here? 169 meters. You see over here? 151 meters. Over here, 145. So this height is the highest parts. 192, 160, 100. Then it keeps going down, down, down. So what does that tell me? It's extracting this stuff down into the earth, to absorb it. And wait till I show you how it gets absorbed. Absolutely amazing. This is that pipeline of stuff coming down. Now everything here looks like it's trying to do something to this chemistry that's coming in. That's some serious chemistry. And it keeps coming down in here into this. And I think those are lungs. I don't see any other way to put it. All right, don't forget now, this is in the book of Revelation, the woman and the dragon. They say it's symbolic depiction. The woman represents God's people. No, the woman is basically the earth. often interpreted as the church. The dragon represents Satan. That I can go along with. The adversary of God. They were against each other, I guess. That's a deep spot right there. He actively tries to persecute and harm the faithful. Now, listen to this. The imagery is primarily found in Revelation chapter 12, where the woman is described as giving birth to a male child, interpreted as Jesus. However, it says he will rule the earth with a rod of iron. Is that Jesus? And fleeing from the dragon's pursuit into the wilderness, signifying a time of persecution, ultimately God's protection over his people. Well, there's a lot of issues I have with this. Well, let's just start with the first one. Boy, I think I just had a revelation myself. The woman and the dragon refer to the depiction where the woman represents God's people, which is earth, often interpreted as the church. Still, we'll go with the earth. Now, listen to this carefully. The dragon represents Satan, yes. Now it's making sense, because Satan wasn't Zeus. Satan was Cronus, because he's the one that came down to eat the baby. Zeus was the one that was the baby. Wow, it's really starting to make sense. Listen to this carefully. The woman is going to give birth on the moon. She's the earth, and her feet are on the moon. She's going to have a baby. And she gives that a rock instead of the baby to Cronus, who was the dragon. He was going to eat the baby. This is always recorded in a million different places. Now, what happens at this point? Cronus eats the rock. He thinks he's eaten the baby, who happens to be Zeus. Zeus is hidden away. And this is all written about, where this imaginary is primarily found. This imagery is primarily found in Revelation chapter 12. The woman is described as giving birth to a male child, interpreted as Jesus, and fleeing from the dragon's pursuit into the wilderness. Well, in the myth, he gets a rock to eat, and a baby is saved and hidden in a cave. And it turns out to be Zeus, who does turn out to be the god of this solar system. Now, Zeus was a sexual god. According to all the ancient texts, he was the one that they say Satan came down to have sex with the women and had the giants, and it didn't work out so well. Zeus was a sexual god, so you got to go with that. In one respect or another, was that, because now you got God, who was Cronus, original God, basically. Now, was he the real God? I think the sun might have been the real God. And has dominion over the gods of this solar system, something like that. It's very complicated, very, very, but they always wanted to eat and keep their children hidden in Tartarus, because it was always prophesied, you're going to be overthrown. These ones didn't die. That's the key. Here, you could live your life as the dictator and then die if somebody didn't kill you, but that's unlikely. Now, there, they just never die. So somebody had to overthrow them in order to make things change. And they were always trying. They were always going around behind each other's back to try to kill each other. And boy, I'll tell you, when you read Apollodorus, well, I'm going to read it for you because it is a nightmare. All right, listen, this is nightmarish. Earth knew that the gods wanted to kill all her children, which were the giants and the titans and all those. So here's what happened. Let's just cut down to here, where they were going to have a battle. All right. Earth sought for a symbol to prevent the giants from being destroyed even by a mortal. But Zeus forbade the dawn and the moon and the sun to shine, and then, before anyone else could get it, he culled the symbol himself. I'm not sure what the symbol is. And by means of Athena, summoned Hercules to his help. Hercules was a part human and part god, so he was able to kill the gods with Zeus's help. Otherwise, Zeus couldn't do it. So Hercules had to help. Hercules first shot Alcestis with an arrow, but when the giant fell on the ground, he somewhat revived. However, at Athena's advice, Hercules dragged him outside of his range, Pallene, and so the giant died. He couldn't die if he was inside his own borders. They had all kind of rules. Now, in a battle, Porphyrin attacked Hercules and Hera. Nevertheless, Zeus inspired him with lust for Hera. And when he says, go ahead and take Hera. And when he tore her robes and would have forced her to have sex, she called for help. Zeus smote him with a thunderbolt, and Hercules shot him dead with an arrow. Hercules shot them all with arrows. As for the other giants, Apollodorus was shot by Apollo with an arrow in his left eye and by Hercules in his right eye. Eurystheus was killed by, this is what I want to point out. The Sphinx appears to have a shot right through her head, or his head, and coming out an eyeball. I don't know, it looked like that to me. Now, Eurystheus was killed by Dionysus with a thyrsus, whatever that is, and Cleitus by Hecate with torches, Mimas by Hephaestus with missiles of red-hot metal. These guys didn't mess around. Enceladus fled, but Athena threw on him in his flight the island of Sicily. And then she flayed Phalus and used his skin. Flayed means she took his skin off. She used his skin to shield her own body in the fight. Apollodorus was chased through the sea by Poseidon. It came to cost Poseidon breaking off that piece of the island, which is called Nizirum, threw it on him, and Hermes, wearing the helmet of Hades, slew Hephaestus in the fight, and Artemis slew Gratian, and the Fates, fighting with brazier clubs, killed Argus and Thoas, and the other giants, Zeus, who was a god, smote and destroyed with thunderbolts, and all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. Hercules and Zeus worked together. So now Earth is out of her mind, upset. When the gods had killed all of her babies, all of her kids, even though they were weird, she was very upset. When the gods had overcome the giants, Earth's children, Earth was enraged and had intercourse with Tartarus. Back to Tartarus again. That confuses me. She had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon. He's the dragon. He's the one we've been talking about. He was the hybrid between man and beast. Size and strength surpassed all the offspring. As far as his thighs go, and that's the only thing. That's the ones that were of human shape. Outside of that, he had coils, and the rest of them was dragon. It was just the thighs. And that's what they say, as far as his thighs go. That's the only thing they mention. Prodigious bulk, he outtopped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars, and I think it's 1,200 miles tall. One of his hands reached out to the west, the other to the east, and from projected 100 dragon's heads, which I have not found, but there's all kinds of dragon-ish things everywhere. From the thighs downward, he had huge coils of vipers, which when drawn out reached to his very head and emitted a loud hissing. His body was all winged, unkempt. Hair streamed on the wind from his head and cheeks. Fire flashed from his eyes. This big red flashing eye. Such and so great was Typhon, when hurling kindled rocks, he made for the very heavens, hissing and shouts, spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth. He's laying on the ground, but all this is there, exactly like it says. When the gods saw him rushing at heaven, they made for Egypt in flight. Being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. The fish is an animal. However, Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance with thunderbolts, close quarters, struck him with adamantine sickle, and cut his throat. Now, this is where it changes, and I can't understand, because they're saying Typhon got up, or Typhon and Zeus, something happened here that doesn't fit into what I see. Because it says Zeus pelted Typhon at a distance with thunderbolts, and close quarters struck him down with an adamantine sickle. There, I'm good. And as he fled, pursued him closely to whatever this is, somewhere in Syria, which I don't see that. There, seeing the monster sore wounded, he grappled with him, but Typhon twined about him, gripped him in his coils, wrestling the sickle, severed the sinews in his hands and feet, and lifting him on his shoulders, because he couldn't move anymore, no more tendons. He carried him through the sea to Sicily and deposited him on arrival in this cave. Likewise, he put away the sinews there, and they hid him in a bear skin. He set a guard there, a she-dragon, Delphine, who was half bestial maiden, but Hermes and a pagan stole the sinews and refitted them unobserved to Zeus. So Zeus didn't know that they fixed Typhon back up. That's what they're saying. Now, having recovered his strength, they fixed Zeus back up, I believe. Having recovered his strength, Zeus suddenly from heaven, riding a chariot of winged horses, pelted Typhon, yes, with thunderbolts, pursued him into the mountain called Nysa, where the fates beguiled the fugitive, for he tasted the ephemeral fruits in a persuasion that he would be strengthened thereby. So being again pursued, he came to Thrace, and in fighting at Mount Haemus, he heaved whole mountains. But when these recoiled on him through the force of the thunderbolt, a stream of blood gushed out of that mountain. They say that from the circumstances, the mountain was called Haemus. Now here's where I don't believe this is accurate. When he started to flee through Sicilian Sea, Zeus cast Mount Etna in Sicily on him, and a huge mountain from which down to this day they say blast fire issue from the thunderbolts that were thrown. So much for that subject. Then he goes into Prometheus, who molded men out of water and earth. And he gave fire, and Zeus was not happy, nailed him to a mountain. This is insane stuff. All right, we just went through Apollodorus, just a tiny little piece of it. That thing is just enormous. It was all of the history, all the way up to 200 BC. And I mean, he did not skip much. Everybody's name was there, what they did, who they did it to, how many killed people, and who was having sex with who, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And Zeus was having sex with everybody. Now, this is the Gospel of Thomas, the Gnostic texts. These are the ones that were discovered in one of them, Qumran, somewhere around there, in these caves, and they were in jars and kept. And these are regular books. They're very nicely done, and they were in pretty good shape. Now, this is in these texts. This is the Gospel of Thomas, who apparently was the scribe for Jesus, and it was Didymus Judas Thomas, who recorded all these things, and he was doubting Thomas. Now, and it's 114 sayings, and they're just, some of them are just unbelievably hard to understand and disturbing, to say the least. Now, supposedly these are the secret sayings the living Jesus, when he was walking, breathing, speaking, he spoke, and Didymus Judas Thomas recorded them. And Jesus said, "Whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death." Well, I don't think anybody can understand the meaning of all of these sayings, so let's figure out what we can interpret for ourselves. I think that's what Jesus wants, to interpret them, figure out what they mean to you. All right. Jesus said, "Those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. Now, implication, right there, implied, is you should seek. And when you do seek, don't stop seeking until you find. When they find, they will be disturbed. Absolutely. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all. Not sure what that means. After they have reigned, they will rest. All right, so there we go. Now, Jesus said, if your leaders say to you, now these are your leaders, these are your teachers and so forth, the ones that you look up to. If your leaders say, look, the Father's kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. So his kingdom's not in the sky. The birds will be ahead of you if it was in the sky. If they say to you, it is in the sea, well, then the fish will be ahead of you. They will precede you. Rather, the Father's kingdom is within you and it is outside you. We are part of everything. There is nothing that is not part of everything else. There's nothing that is on its own. Nothing, zero. We are part of everything, and the part of, and even dipole electron flood theory says that we are nothing but two little particles, and every particles are attached together in some manner or another. So we're part of everything. That's how I'm going to interpret that one. This is going to take a long time to go through these. All right, so it's inside of you and it's outside of you. It's everywhere. When you know yourselves, you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the living Father. First of all, you have to know yourself, and you'll be known to God for trying to understand. And you will understand you are children of the living Father. But if you do not know yourselves, then you live in poverty, and you are the poverty. That's kind of a slap there. Now, Jesus said the person old in days won't hesitate to ask a little child 7 days old about the place of life, and that person will live. For many of the first will be the last, and will become a single one. All right, so many of the first will be last and will become a single one. That's hard to understand. Is that molecularly, just because we're all parts of dipole electrons? I'm sort of seeing things in a chemistry way now. I don't know if that's right or it's spiritual. I don't know. That's what this interpretation is very, very difficult. If you got to pass the test and know all the answers, you're in trouble. I am, I can tell you that. But I look to the little kids and I look at them and think, what are they thinking about? How did they get, and also you want to see their biology is good, their digestive system's good. If they got problems with their digestion, there's a map that tells you how their digestion should progress, and make sure that that's working right, or the kid is going to be in trouble, because that's what gives him his nutrition or her nutrition. Now, many of the first will be last and will become a single one. Because I guess at one point we're all going to be one big ball of energy again. Maybe. That's how I'm interpreting that one. Now, Jesus said, know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be disclosed to you, for there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and there is nothing buried that will not be raised. That's why I show everything. I was worried about showing this in the beginning, thinking, am I showing secret stuff that I shouldn't be showing? And I might be. But Jesus said, know what's in front of your face. There is nothing hidden and nothing buried. Everything will be disclosed. That means 100% in my mind. So I'm expecting that that's what Jesus meant. And I'm going to tell you right now, let me just stop this and explain to you why I have been so tenacious about what I've been doing. Hold on one second. All right, my friends, trust me, I am nothing special. I don't know how this happened to me, but this did happen to me. I'm going to tell you the details, and these are factual. I'm not making anything up. I woke up one morning, I can't remember the date, let's say 2012, something like that. And I said to my wife, I just feel like there's something in the woods calling my name. I'm going to go out and look and see if, I don't know what, I actually remember thinking to myself, I'm going to find an arrowhead or something. Because the day before I had been talking to a guy about arrows, or I can't remember, but I remember thinking, maybe I'll find an arrowhead. So I went, because I got, a nice little piece of property, and there's all stone walls and fields and so forth. So I'm walking around, and eventually I find a gigantic human fingertip. I mean, gigantic. And I said, "Brrr." I was absolutely, totally freaked out because it was a fingertip with a fingernail, fingerprints, the whole shooting match. And then I found a hand, and I found a bunch of stuff. But in the midst of doing that, I was searching on giants, and a message came up, and I don't know where it came from. I wasn't searching anywhere looking for this thing, and it came up and said, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. And I said, whoa, where the hell did that come from? And I started searching, I searched. I don't know where it came from, but it went away and it was gone. So I sort of said to myself, eesh, that's kind of strange. I go out and find giants, and then this message comes up. And I think it came up pretty quick, but it might have come up later. It's a fog now, the first early part. But nobody passed the test, I can tell you that. Because right away I said, wow, look at this. You're an idiot, you're a nut job, you're crazy. And that just never stopped. So, did that message come up? These are for you to see and for others to test, or did it come up later? I don't know. But it definitely 100%, no question whatsoever, that came up, and I realized nobody was passing the test. I mean, literally nobody. Zero. And I went on for years. So let's say it was 2012. 2015, I wrote a book. Well, not a book. It turned into a book, but not my book. Somebody made a little book about it, about the draining of the Sahara and how it drained across Atlantis out into the ocean. And I was studying that for probably 2 years about Atlantis. And now I showed you all the details. I show you everything about Atlantis. There's no question in my mind that it's biological, number one. Number two, that it is Atlantis. Number three, there's the straits in front of it. Number four, that Sahara Desert was an ocean. All right, and all of that stuff is on the ancient maps, and the dragon and the fish are there now. But guess what? At 2015, I didn't know about the dragon and the fish. I didn't know about it. I'm studying Atlantis right underneath of it, just totally underneath of it. And then I got a message, another message. I'm sitting here, right as you're sitting, I'm looking at my computer, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't get this done. People just will not respond. They're being nasty. I'm getting bitter. It was a tough time emotionally. Nobody was torturing me, but I'll tell you, the emotional distress was significant. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm almost in tears. And I'm basically saying to God, I wasn't saying it out loud, I don't think, but I was saying that you picked the wrong guy. You got a guy that can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't give the test. They won't even take the test. How am I going to give the test? How can I test anybody that won't take the test? What am I doing wrong? How did this happen? Why did you pick me? And I was really, literally arguing with God almost, like, and all of a sudden, and then I swear this is a fact, I hear from behind me, where my TV was, which was on, I hear, "Look in Morocco." And I turn around, I look at the TV, and the TV's got a car commercial on somewhere out driving through the woods or the desert or somewhere. Maybe it did come up with what's the. I don't think so though. Well, no, it didn't have anything to do with Morocco, that particular commercial. But it did say, look in Morocco, somewhere behind me. So I turn around, I click on Morocco, I look, and there's a dragon and a fish. And I had been looking underneath at Atlantis for years. For years. And then all of a sudden, boop, it popped up. Now, I don't think it had anything to do with that car commercial, because it was like, I remember thinking that has, because I remember thinking, where the hell did that voice come from? Where did it come from? And I was there at that time thinking about that commercial, and I remember discarding it, saying that like, no way in the world did that say, look, in Morocco, it came from somewhere else. And it did. And ever since, I've been pushing this thing, and the things that dropped into my lap, you just could not believe it. These things are for you to see and for others as a test. And everything I look at now, I see differently than I saw before. Virtually everything. And I have the evidence to support it. I've done all my research. So if somebody wants to put up a defense against my statements and claims, that's what I have been trying and asking for. And it's not allowed by what they call peer review, because they got too many guys to say, this guy's got to be insane. And even somebody did something on artificial intelligence the other day, make up a story about Roger Spur. Or tell me something about Roger Spur. And it talks about, yeah, his tinfoil hat shines in the light. And I mean, that's AI assaulting me. It's 100% now. But I see a handful, and I mean just a handful. I'm not kidding you. And some, I don't know, I'm not going to go down that route. Just, all I can say is this is a test. As far as I'm concerned, this is a test. It's up to you to make up your mind if it has any meaning or not. I say yes, a lot of meaning here. And I figured I'd just let you know that is exactly what my experience was. And again, I am nobody, trust me. I have so much to be forgiven for, and I doubt if I'll even get that. But I'm just going to do the best I can. And looking into the Gospel of Thomas is something I really want to do, because those were supposedly the words of Jesus Christ. And I think I've sort of worked out who his father was and who the father of his father was. And I think there's another father involved on top of that. It gets extremely deep. And I'm in the deep end. I've been in the deep end for years now. So I'm still afloat. So let's get back into it. Keep going. Just keep going.